Her life insurance should cover the mortgage. That was the first thing I heard when I opened my eyes. Kevin, my eldest son, stood at the foot of my hospital bed, arms crossed like he was waiting for a deal to close. His wife Jessica leaned in close, her voice low but sharp. And the villa, she added. Once she's gone, we can finally renovate. Sell if we want. Just make sure the paperwork's ready. The doctor said it won't be long. I lay there. Tubes in my arm, my chest aching. But it wasn't the illness that hurt most. It was hearing my own blood talk about me like I was already gone. Like I was just a number on an insurance policy. I am Margaret Carter, 70 years old, a mother of 2 sons. And if you're watching this right now, don't forget to hit subscribe and tell me where you're from. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't just a story about sickness. It's about betrayal, about love, and about how respect is worth more than any inheritance. Because while Kevin and Jessica were already dividing my house and my money, someone else was at my bedside. Daniel, my youngest, the one they always called the useless one, the one who never asked for a dime, never demanded I write his name on anything. He wasn't talking about policies or mortgages. He was holding my hand, making sure my blanket covered my shoulders, checking the water cup by my bed. Mom, he whispered, you need to eat something. The nurse said you'll get stronger if you try. I blinked slowly, too tired to answer. But I squeezed his hand. That was all I could manage. Behind him, Kevin scoffed. Daniel, don't waste your time. She's barely responsive. The doctor's already told us how this goes. Jessica smirked. He's always been soft. He'll learn. I wanted to sit up, to scream at them. But my body betrayed me. I could only listen, memorize every cruel word. That night, after visiting hours, I pretended to sleep while they lingered in the hallway. Do you think she's changed the will? Jessica hissed. Kevin shook his head. She won't. She's sentimental. Besides, I'm the eldest. It's obvious who gets what. What about Daniel? Kevin snorted. Daniel? Please. He's broke. He can barely keep his own job. Mom would never trust him with property or money. This is ours. Their footsteps faded. Daniel came back in quietly, carrying a paper cup of soup from the cafeteria. He sat down beside me, careful not to wake me, and just stayed. All night. I cracked my eyes once, just enough to see him slumped in the chair, head resting on the edge of my bed, still holding my hand in his sleep. And in that moment, I knew. Kevin and Jessica thought I was dying. They thought I was finished, just a signature away from giving them everything. But I wasn't finished. Not yet. I was listening. I was remembering. And I was planning. Hospitals never really sleep. Machines beep. Nurses walk the halls. And the air smells of disinfectant no matter the hour. It was past midnight when I woke again. The room dim except for the faint glow of monitors. Daniel was asleep in the chair beside me, chin tucked to his chest. His hand still resting near mine like he'd been keeping guard all night. I should have felt safe. But then I heard voices just outside the door. Kevin. And Jessica. I closed my eyes, slowed my breathing, and listened. She's hanging on longer than I thought. Jessica whispered. Kevin's voice was sharper. The doctor said her heart's weak. Could be days. Maybe a week. We just need to be patient. Patient? Jessica hissed. We've been waiting for years. You promised me the villa would be ours by now. I'm not wasting another season in that cramped condo. My chest tightened. But not from illness. From rage. Kevin sighed. The insurance payout will cover the debts. Once that clears, we can list the house. My name will be on everything. Mom knows better than to hand it to Daniel. Jessica let out a cold laugh. Daniel. That boy thinks holding her hand will win him a fortune. He's pathetic. I felt Daniel shift beside me in his chair, murmuring something in his sleep. I reached for his fingers, gripping just enough to feel the warmth. The hallway voices grew quieter as they walked away. Jessica's heels clicked against the tile. We should talk to a lawyer. Make sure there are no surprises. I don't trust her to keep things simple. Kevin muttered back. Relax. I'm the eldest. Daniel has no claim. Mom owes me. Owes him. The word echoed in my chest like poison. I owed him? I had given him everything. Paid for his private school. Covered his college tuition. Wrote checks when he bought his first house. Even bailed him out when his investments failed. And still, in his mind, I owed him. I wanted to rip out the 4 and march into that hallway. But my body was weak, and anger would have to wait. Instead, I lay there with my eyes closed, memorizing every word, every sneer, every ounce of their greed. The next morning sunlight leaked through the blinds. Daniel stirred awake and rubbed his eyes, then leaned forward with a smile that looked tired but warm. Morning, Mom, he said softly, reaching for the cup on the bedside table and lifting it carefully toward me. Morning, Mom, Daniel said softly, reaching for the cup on the bedside table and lifting it carefully toward me. The rim touched my lips and the cool water slipped down my throat. My chest still ached, but the dryness in my mouth eased a little. He steadied the cup with both hands like I might shatter if he moved too fast. There, he whispered. Better? I nodded, the effort costing me more than it should have. His shoulders relaxed. Behind him the door creaked open and Jessica's perfume rushed in first. Sharp and sweet. She wrinkled her nose at the sight of Daniel holding the cup. You look exhausted, she said flatly. Did you actually sleep in that chair? Daniel shrugged. Yeah. I didn't want her to be alone. Jessica's lips curled. Hospitals have nurses for that. He didn't answer. Just set the cup down and straightened the blanket across my chest. Kevin strolled in after her. Already on his phone. Doctor's doing rounds in a bit. We'll need updates. And Mom, the insurance rep said there's some paperwork. Don't worry. I'll handle it. I opened my mouth, but my voice came out faint. No. My lawyer. Kevin froze, then forced a smile. Mom, come on. No need for all that. I've got you covered. Daniel looked at him sharply. She said lawyer. That's what she wants. Kevin's eyes flicked from me to him, irritation flashing before he slipped the phone back into his pocket. Jessica rolled her eyes, muttering something under her breath about wasting time. The nurse appeared just then, clipboard in hand. Mrs. Carter, we'll be checking your vitals again in a few minutes, and we'll need signatures for some tests. Kevin immediately stepped forward. I'll take care of it. The nurse glanced at me. Is that okay? I shook my head slowly. No, only me. Or my lawyer. For a moment the room went silent except for the steady beeping of the monitor. Then the nurse nodded briskly. Understood. Daniel caught my eye and gave the smallest smile, like he knew exactly what I was doing. Jessica huffed. You're making everything so complicated. Why not just let Kevin do what needs to be done? He's the eldest. That's his role. Daniel's chair scraped softly as he pulled it closer to the bed. His role is whatever Mom decides. Jessica snapped. Stay out of this. You've always been useless. Daniel, don't act like a hero now. His jaw tightened but he didn't answer her. Instead he dipped a spoon into the broth the nurse had left earlier, held it steady, and raised it toward me. Mom, he said gently, ignoring them both. Try a little soup. It'll help. Jessica groaned. Seriously? Playing nurse? That's embarrassing. Kevin smirked. Let him. Maybe that's the only thing he'll ever be good at. Daniel kept his eyes on me. Calm and steady. 1 spoonful. Please. I opened my mouth enough to let the soup in. Warm. Salty. Simple. Nothing like the catered dinners Jessica bragged about hosting. This was better, it tasted like care. Daniel carefully wiped the corner of my mouth with a napkin, then lowered his voice. You don't have to eat a lot. Just enough to keep your strength. Jessica folded her arms. Strength for what? She can barely sit up. Why drag this out? The words sliced through the room. Kevin shot her a warning look. But it was too late. Daniel's head jerked toward her, fury flashing across his face. "Don't talk about her like that." Jessica laughed. "Oh please. I'm just being realistic. We all know what's coming." Daniel stood abruptly, the chair scraping loud against the tile. "Get out." Kevin stepped between them, hands raised. "Daniel, relax. She didn't mean it like that." "Yes, I did," Jessica said, tilting her chin high. "I don't see why we all have to pretend. The doctors already said." "Enough," Daniel cut in, voice trembling. "If you don't want to be here for her, then leave. I'll stay." The tension pressed heavy against the walls, thicker than the antiseptic air. Kevin muttered something about going for coffee and tugged Jessica toward the door. She let herself be pulled, heels clicking angrily down the hall until the sound faded. Daniel's shoulders sank. He ran a hand through his hair, then looked at me again. His eyes softened instantly. "I'm sorry, Mom. You shouldn't have to hear any of that." I reached for his hand, weak but deliberate. He gripped it tightly, lowering himself back into the chair. "You just rest," he murmured. "I'll stay right here." His voice steadied me more than the machines. I watched his face, lined with exhaustion but lit with something Kevin had long forgotten how to show: love. The spoon still rested in the bowl, steam curling faintly into the air as Daniel leaned forward again, ready to lift another mouthful toward me. The spoon hovered near my lips when a knock came at the door. Daniel set the bowl down carefully and stood. A tall man in a dark suit stepped inside, adjusting his glasses. He looked out of place in the hospital room, polished and calm against the beeping monitors. "Mrs. Carter," he said with a polite nod. "I'm Mr. Langford, your attorney. You asked for me." Kevin and Jessica arrived right on cue, coffee cups in hand. Kevin froze when he saw the lawyer. "What's he doing here?" Jessica's eyes narrowed. "Mom, you didn't tell us you called a lawyer." I shifted slightly against the pillows, forcing my voice strong enough to carry. "As I didn't need to tell you." Kevin set his coffee down with a thud. "Mom, we're family. There's no need to bring in outsiders." Daniel crossed his arms, standing between them and the bed. "She wants him here. That's all that matters." Langford cleared his throat, calm but firm. "I'll need a few minutes alone with my client." Jessica let out a sharp laugh. "Client? She's your mother." "Kevin, this is ridiculous. You're her son. If anyone should know what's happening with her estate." "Sue." The lawyer didn't flinch. "Legally, Mrs. Carter is the only one who decides who knows anything. And she's asked for privacy." Kevin's face reddened. "We'll stay. We have the right." "No, you don't," I said, each word slow but deliberate. "Not anymore." The silence in the room was broken only by the hum of the machines. Jessica's jaw dropped, but Kevin grabbed her wrist and pulled her toward the hallway. "This isn't over," she muttered under her breath, her heels striking hard against the floor as she left. Daniel helped close the door. For a moment it was just us, the lawyer, my youngest son, and me. Langford pulled a folder from his briefcase and placed it on the tray table. "Everything is prepared, Mrs. Carter. We can make changes as you wish." My fingers trembled as I reached for the pen he laid out. Daniel steadied my hand without a word. The papers rustled softly as Langford slid them closer. "Here is where you can designate healthcare proxy. And here, the will adjustments." I felt Daniel's hand tighten slightly around mine. His voice was low. "Mom, are you sure you're up for this now? You don't have to rush." I met his eyes. "Yes, I do." The pen touched the page, ink flowing as my signature curled across the line. My breath caught, the sound of the monitor quickening for a moment before it steadied again. Langford adjusted his glasses, waiting. Daniel's thumb brushed over my knuckles, keeping me steady as the papers turned one after another. The pen dragged across the page, and I felt Daniel's hand tighten around mine just enough to keep me steady. Langford slid the last sheet in front of me when the door burst open again. Kevin strode in, his face tight. Jessica followed, her lipstick fresh, her eyes sharp like she'd just rehearsed a speech. "What is this?" Kevin demanded, pointing at the folder. "Mom, you don't need this. I told you. I'll handle everything." Langford calmly closed the folder, snapping it shut before Kevin could snatch it. "These are private documents between my client and myself. Unless she gives permission, you are not entitled to view them." Jessica laughed bitterly. "Client? She's your mother. Kevin, you really think some lawyer knows her better than her own son?" Daniel stepped forward. "He doesn't need to know her better. He just needs to respect what she wants." The tension snapped like a live wire. But before another word could fly, the doctor walked in with a clipboard. "Mrs. Carter," he said kindly, "we'll be running a few tests today. I'd like to discuss treatment options with your family." Kevin pounced on the opening. "Great. Talk to me. I'm the eldest son. Whatever paperwork needs signing, I'll do it." The doctor frowned. "Actually, the patient is still capable of making her own decisions. We'll speak directly with her." Jessica muttered. "What's the point? She's barely—" Kevin cut her off, voice rising. "Look, we just need to know how long this is going to drag on. The insurance only pays out once." The words slipped out before he realized what he'd said. The room froze. The doctor lowered his clipboard slowly. "Excuse me?" Kevin swallowed hard. "Backpedaling. I mean the insurance forms. You know, we just want to be prepared." But the damage was done. The nurse in the corner stopped writing notes and looked up sharply. Daniel's fists clenched at his sides. "You're unbelievable," Daniel said, his voice shaking. "She's lying here fighting to breathe. And you're worried about payout schedules?" Jessica jumped in, her tone icy. "Don't twist his words. We're being practical. Someone has to think about the future." The nurse's pen tapped against the clipboard. "This is a hospital. Ma'am, our concern is the patient's care, not her bank account." Kevin's face flushed deep red. He opened his mouth, closed it again, then muttered, "Forget it," and grabbed Jessica's arm. They stormed out. But not before I caught the doctor exchanging a glance with the nurse. Both looked shaken, as if they couldn't quite believe what they'd heard. Langford cleared his throat, sliding the folder back into his briefcase. Daniel sank into the chair beside me, still fuming. He muttered, "Swear, Mom, if I hear them talk about money one more time." The doctor interrupted gently, adjusting the monitor by my bed. "Mrs. Carter, we'll keep you comfortable. That's what matters. The rest can wait." His hand brushed over the wires as Daniel reached for the blanket, tucking it carefully beneath my arm before the room fell into a silence so heavy you could hear every tick of the machine. The silence in the room stretched, broken only by the hiss of oxygen and the steady tick of the heart monitor. Daniel smoothed the blanket under my arm, his jaw still tight. Out in the hallway, I could hear raised voices. Kevin again. Jessica's sharper tone cutting through like glass. "You shouldn't have said insurance," Jessica hissed. Kevin snapped back. "What was I supposed to say?" They kept pushing. Just slipped out. "You made us look like vultures. We are waiting. What else do you call it?" The voices grew louder. And this time it wasn't just me and Daniel hearing them. A group of visitors lingered near the nurse's station. One young woman pulled out her phone, eyes wide as she recorded Kevin pacing back and forth, Jessica waving her manicured hands in frustration. "Think about it," Jessica pressed. "The payout plus the house. That's everything we need. Once she's gone, we won't have to live like this anymore." Kevin's reply was muffled, but the words carried enough. "She's taking too long." The phone camera shook as the woman gasped. Someone else whispered, "Are they serious? That's their mother?" By the time the nurse shooed them further down the hall, the video was already posted. The next morning Daniel scrolled through his phone, his brow furrowed. He glanced up at me, uncertain. "Mom, it's everywhere." He showed me the screen. A grainy clip of Kevin and Jessica in the hallway. Voices clear enough to sting. Once she's gone, she's taking too long. The caption read, "Elderly mother in hospital. Kids talk about insurance money." I didn't need to see the comments to know what they said. But Daniel scrolled anyway. Monsters. Who talks about their mom like that? Protect this woman at all costs. Jessica's name was trending. So was Kevin's. And right beside them was mine, Margaret Carter. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. People are furious. Reporters are calling the hospital. They want a statement. The door opened before I could answer. Kevin barged in. His face pale. Phone clutched in his hand. Jessica trailed behind. Her expression twisted. "Mom, you need to fix this," Kevin said immediately. "Tell people it's not what it looks like." Jessica's voice was sharp. "We're being dragged through hell because someone edited a video. If you don't clear this up, our reputations are finished." Daniel stood slowly, phone still in his grip. "Edited? Everyone heard exactly what you said." Jessica's eyes narrowed. "Stay out of this. Daniel, you've always been jealous." "Jealous?" His laugh was harsh. "You talk about my mother's death like it's a business plan. And I'm jealous?" Kevin stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Mom, please, just say it was taken out of context. Say you asked us about the insurance. People will believe you." I let the silence stretch, the machines filling the space with their steady rhythm. My hands trembled slightly as Daniel reached down and pressed the call button for the nurse. Jessica rolled her eyes. "What now? More drama?" The door clicked as the nurse walked in, adjusting the four-stand, and Daniel's phone buzzed with another notification, the screen lighting up as he glanced down at the flood of messages. The video kept spreading. By the third day it was on every major platform, even the local news. Headlines ran across the TV in my hospital room. Siblings caught talking about insurance while mother fights for life. Nurses glanced at me with pity. Visitors whispered when Kevin and Jessica walked down the hall. I didn't need to check the comments anymore. Daniel did that for me, shaking his head each time. "Mom, don't look at this garbage," he said, sliding his phone back into his pocket. "Just focus on getting stronger." And strangely, I was. The medication steadied my heartbeat. The soup Daniel insisted I try gave me back a little color. And every morning I woke to see him slumped in that chair, head tilted, refusing to leave. By the end of the week, the doctor came in with a smile. "Mrs. Carter, your progress is remarkable. We'll be discharging you tomorrow if everything looks good. You'll still need rest at home, but you're out of danger." Daniel grinned like a boy. "Did you hear that, Mom? Home. Finally." The relief in his eyes was enough to keep me breathing easier that night. The next morning the hospital room was suddenly full of flowers, balloons, and expensive gift baskets. Kevin strolled in with Jessica on his arm, both dressed as if for a photo shoot. "Mom," Kevin said warmly, too warmly, "look at you. You're glowing. We're so happy you're better." Jessica placed a bouquet on the table. "Only the best roses for you. Imported." Daniel raised an eyebrow from his chair. "Funny. She's been here over a week and these are the first flowers you've brought." Jessica's smile tightened. "We didn't want to overwhelm her." Kevin pulled the discharge papers from his jacket. "Doctor said you'll need help at home. Mom, don't worry, we'll move in for a while. Make sure everything's taken care of." I felt Daniel stiffen beside me. "Move in? Since when do you want to help?" Kevin shot him a look. "Since Mom needs it. You think you're the only one who cares?" The doctor entered then, holding my chart. "Mrs. Carter, we'll have you in a wheelchair shortly. Your sons can take turns helping you out." Jessica's eyes lit up. "Yeah, perfect. Let's get some photos, too. People should see how supportive the family is." Daniel muttered. "Supportive? Now you care about appearances?" Kevin ignored him, adjusting the blanket across my lap. "Mom, don't listen to him. We'll get you home safely. I've already called a car service." Daniel's hand was already on the wheelchair handles. steady and firm. No need. I've got her. The air thickened, tension hanging between the two brothers as the nurse wheeled the chair forward, adjusting the brakes with a soft click. Kevin bent down, his voice syrupy sweet. Come on, Mom. Let me help you this time. The ride home was a blur of flashing cameras outside the hospital. Reporters shouted my name, microphones waving. But Daniel kept one hand firm on the wheelchair and the other shielding me as best he could. Kevin and Jessica trailed behind, heads ducked, sunglasses on, pretending they weren't the villains of every headline. By the time we reached the house, the air inside was still and heavy. My lawyer, Mr. Langford, was already waiting in the living room with a thick folder balanced neatly on his lap. Jessica adjusted her silk blouse, forcing a smile. Finally, some clarity. We can put all these rumors to rest. Kevin straightened his jacket and sat tall beside her. Yes, let's make this official. Mom, you'll feel better once everything's in order. Daniel wheeled me closer to the sofa, staying at my side as Langford opened the folder. His calm voice filled the room. As per Mrs. Carter's instructions, we will review the updated estate documents today. This includes healthcare proxy, power of attorney, and the last will and testament. Jessica clasped her hands dramatically. Of course. We're ready. Kevin leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. Go ahead. Langford adjusted his glasses, reading aloud. In the event of incapacitation, healthcare decisions are to be made by Daniel Carter. Kevin's head snapped up. What? Jessica laughed lightly, too high-pitched. That must be a mistake. Langford didn't pause. Financial matters are to remain under the oversight of the designated attorney until Mrs. Carter's recovery. Upon her passing, all assets, namely the Carter residence, bank accounts, and associated properties, are to transfer in entirety to Daniel Carter. The room froze. Jessica's mouth fell open. Kevin shot to his feet. You can't be serious. Langford closed the folder gently. It is signed, witnessed, and notarized. Quite serious. Jessica's voice cracked. This isn't fair. We've been the ones. Daniel's chair scraped softly as he stood, his voice calm but unyielding. You've been the ones waiting for her to die. Kevin turned on him, fists clenched. Don't you dare. Jessica grabbed his arm, whispering urgently. Sit down. Cameras. Remember the cameras. I hadn't realized it until now. But Daniel had left his phone on the coffee table, screen glowing faintly, recording the entire meeting. Kevin followed the light with his eyes, his face draining of color. Langford cleared his throat. If there are no further questions, I'll file these documents with the court this week. Kevin's breath came fast, his voice low. You'll regret this, Daniel. You think this makes you the hero. But Daniel stepped closer, one hand still resting on the back of my chair, his shadow cutting between Kevin and me as the sound of the recording app pinged softly from the phone. The ping from Daniel's phone lingered in the room like a warning bell. Kevin's face tightened, eyes flicking between me, the lawyer, and the glowing screen. Jessica's hand dug into his sleeve, her nails pressing through the fabric. Turn that off. Kevin snapped. You can't record this without permission. Daniel picked up the phone slowly, showing the screen. It's already been live for the last 10 minutes. Jessica gasped. Live? You streamed this? Daniel's voice stayed steady. People deserve to know the truth. Kevin's chair scraped back violently as he shot to his feet. You'll ruin us. I finally spoke, my voice raw but clear. You ruined yourselves the moment you wished me gone in a hospital hallway. Jessica's lips trembled. That wasn't, those were just words. I lifted a small recorder from the side table, the one I'd asked a nurse to place there after that night. I pressed a button, and their voices filled the living room. She's taking too long. Once she's gone, the villa will be ours. Jessica staggered back, color draining from her face. Kevin muttered, delete that, delete it now. Langford remained composed, folding the papers neatly back into his briefcase. Mr. Carter. Mrs. Carter. I suggest you take a moment. The documents are finalized. Challenging them will only bring more of this evidence into court. Jessica turned on me, desperation spilling into her words. You can't do this to us. After everything. After all these years. Daniel stepped in front of her, voice low but cutting. After all these years. You treated her like a bank account. She deserved better. Kevin's fists clenched. You think you're the good son? You'll see how fast the world turns on you. You'll regret making us enemies. Daniel didn't flinch. I don't need the world to love me. I just need Mom safe. The tension pressed down like a storm about to break. Jessica's eyes darted to the curtains, realizing the neighbors across the street were staring in through the wide window, some even holding up their phones. Kevin hissed, "Close the blinds." But Daniel only leaned closer to me, his hand resting on the wheelchair handle as the murmurs from outside grew louder, a faint mix of shock and whispers seeping through the glass. The living room felt like a stage. Neighbors pressed closer to the windows, phones raised. A reporter's van had already pulled up at the curb, the logo bright under the streetlight. The entire block was watching. Kevin's face shone with sweat. Jessica clutched his arm, hissing, "Say something. Fix this." He turned to me, forcing a smile that looked more like a grimace. "Mom, please. You don't have to do this in front of everyone. Let's just talk privately. Like a family." Daniel's hand rested firmly on the back of my chair. "You mean like a family that wanted her gone?" Jessica spun on him, her voice cracking. "You're twisting everything. We love her. We've always loved her." The murmurs outside rose. Someone shouted, "Play the recording again." Another voice echoed, "Let her speak." Langford, calm as ever, handed me the small recorder. My fingers trembled, but I pressed play. The hallway whispers filled the air once more. "She's taking too long. Once she's gone, the villa will be ours." Gasps rippled from the crowd outside. Phones angled closer. Jessica covered her mouth, shaking her head. Kevin looked ready to explode. I let the silence stretch until the only sound was the faint hum of the machine still ticking in my mind. Then I raised my head, looking past Kevin, past Jessica, straight at the sea of faces beyond the glass. You all heard it. My eldest son and his wife didn't come to my bedside for love. They came for numbers on paper. They weren't waiting for me to recover. They were waiting for me to die. The whispers turned into shouts. Words like chemin disgrace scurried on the night air. Jessica lunged forward, tears streaking her mascara. "Margaret, please don't do this. Think about the family name." I cut her off, my voice sharp, steady, louder than I thought possible for my frail body. The family name doesn't belong to greed. It belongs to respect. And respect is not inherited. It's earned. Kevin's mouth opened, but no words came. I leaned forward in my chair, every eye on me, and let the final words fall clear and cold. I would rather leave everything to the son who held my hand than to the children who counted my breaths. From this day forward, nothing of mine belongs to you.